This message was designed to reach you at the exact right time. October 15th begins a cycle where discomfort reveals direction and resistance reveals clarity. If you've been questioning why life feels unsettled, this is the moment to understand why. The universe is tuning you, adjusting your frequency to match what's trying to emerge. Ever notice how everything seems to break down just when you start to think you've got it all figured out? Plans fall apart. People drift away. Something unexpected forces you to stop. It feels personal, like reality is picking a fight with you. What if the collapse is actually the system reorganizing itself? A coded reset that clears out what no longer fits the next version of you. Think about how nature operates. Forest fires sound destructive, but ecologists call them a renewal force. The blaze burns through deadwood, so seeds buried deep in the soil can sprout. Without fire, the forest eventually chokes on its own overgrowth. Or take a snake shedding its skin. It looks harsh, like something being torn away, but it's the creature making space for expansion. Those examples are built into how all complex systems evolve. Life reorganizes itself through change that looks messy before it looks meaningful. When your own life starts to look like it's collapsing, it might be the universe recalibrating your internal code. That sensation of things falling apart is often the transition between outgrown energy and new alignment taking hold. October 15th carries that frequency, the pivot from dismantling to rebuilding. It's the day when old scripts lose their grip so that new structure can form. This runs deeper than astrology or superstition. This is how cycles behave at a fundamental level. Entropy, the idea that systems move toward disorder, is a precondition for renewal. Scientists studying self-organizing systems have seen this in action everywhere, from ecosystems to weather patterns to computer models. After a phase of increasing disorder, elements start to find balance again. The disarray forces the system to reconfigure itself into a new, more efficient pattern. It's built into physics, into biology, even into your personal story. The mind labels uncertainty as chaos. But under the surface, the same laws that bring a broken ecosystem back to life are quietly working to restore order in you. That's why resistance feels so heavy. When you fight the reset, you confuse a process with an attack. It's like trying to stop a forest fire because you can't see the seedlings waiting underneath. The cycle keeps running until your path reorganizes itself into alignment with the next stage of your evolution. Chaos always feels personal when it's really procedural. It's an automated correction built into the structure of consciousness itself. Emotionally, that correction shows up as turbulence, anxiety, fatigue, disconnection. Those sensations are information. They tell you what the system is deconstructing. Every surge of emotion is a form of data. When something ends or slips away, it releases energetic feedback that shows you exactly what can't continue forward. The discomfort is the universe debugging your path, removing old programs and routines that no longer serve the upgraded version of you. It's tedious, like watching your phone update, but it's progress happening in the background. Change stops looking like punishment and starts looking like precision. The breakdown before the breakthrough is the universe running diagnostics. It's testing the strength of your structure, seeing where energy leaks, examining which beliefs still support your growth. Once those lines of code check out, the system begins the rebuild automatically. The process doesn't need your control. It needs your cooperation. Here's the quiet truth most people miss. The more you resist what's falling apart, the longer the chaos lasts. When you loosen your grip, the recalibration finishes faster. That's why some people seem to adapt effortlessly. They trust the reset enough to let it complete. As October 15th approaches, notice how your own system behaves. Don't label the uncertainty as failure. It's the realignment reaching its halfway point. The part where entropy flips into structure again. This is the transition coded into every living thing. What feels like falling apart is actually the algorithm cleaning house, correcting its own course and syncing you with what's next. Ever notice how the same lesson keeps circling back until you finally do something different? Maybe it's the same kind of relationship, the same job frustrations, the same pattern that always ends the same way. It feels like déjà vu. It's feedback, the universe's way of saying you didn't quite learn that one yet. The same situation reappears because the system is still running the same code, waiting for an updated response before it can move forward. Feedback loops show up everywhere from ecosystems to human behavior. In nature, when a population of animals grows too big, the food supply drops. That shortage pushes the numbers back down, returning balance. The system adjusts until things work again. Life does the same thing with you. Each time you ignore your instincts or stay in a place that's already served its purpose, the feedback increases. It gets louder, more uncomfortable, more obvious until you finally recognize it as guidance. Most people misread feedback. They label it as failure, rejection, bad luck. What if it's actually the universe fine-tuning you? Every time something doesn't go how you hoped, it's sending you refined data. This path works, that one doesn't. It's the same system that teaches a toddler to walk. Fall, adjust, balance, step, repeat until stable. Growth is coded as iteration. The universe repeats the test to calibrate you. There was a man who once told everyone his life collapsed in a single season. Job gone, relationship over, home lost. He said it felt like being erased. But a strange thing happened when there was nothing left to hold together. For the first time, he stopped chasing outcomes and actually listened. Within months, he began leading outdoor retreats to teach mindfulness, something he used to laugh at. He later realized the breakdown didn't destroy his purpose. It redirected it. The loss was data. Every closed door was feedback telling him what no longer matched his real frequency. Systems thinking describes this kind of process clearly. Complex organisms and networks survive through constant feedback and recalibration. You see it in the heartbeat, small fluctuations keeping the rhythm steady. You see it in the brain, neurons firing, adjusting, strengthening the right patterns through repetition. Growth oscillates, adapting through mistakes and adjustments. Your life works the same way. Each time you feel resistance, life measures your response. It tracks whether you react with fear or with trust, whether you cling or adapt. Every response adjusts the next phase of the process. That's why emotional feedback matters. Anxiety, resistance, uncertainty, they're the sensory tools your system uses to show you where current patterns are out of sync. Anxiety often marks the space between knowing something must change and still fearing what happens if it does. Resistance is the echo of your old identity, trying to stay relevant. Uncertainty is a blank slate, raw data waiting to be shaped into clarity. When you start reading those signals instead of fighting them, you begin to cooperate with the loop. Most of us were taught to think in straight lines. Effort equals progress. Discomfort equals a wrong turn. That map doesn't match how the universe builds things. In a living system, discomfort is often the sign that an upgrade is loading. The old pattern needs to disassemble before the new one can install. That phase is messy, repetitive, and often confusing. Growth usually means subtracting what doesn't belong anymore. October 15th represents that kind of feedback climax. It's when the cycle finishes processing. The lessons that kept repeating are now completing their loop, and the system closes one version of your story so another can open. The energy shifts from review to release. That's why you might feel strangely heavy and hopeful at the same time. The code is rewriting. The balance between who you were and who you're becoming is reaching equilibrium. When you start seeing your experiences as data instead of drama, every misstep starts to make sense. You stop labeling things as mistakes and start recognizing them as messages. The universe doesn't waste lessons. It keeps repeating them until you act from alignment. Growth follows a pattern. Every detour, delay, and disappointment is part of your synchronization process, helping you lock into your true path. Once you recognize that rhythm, the fear quiets down. The system is communicating, waiting for you to trust that it knows exactly how to finish what it started. What if your uncertainty right now is proof that the system is still loading? You know, that uneasy space between what was and what's next. That's the universe processing new data, clearing temporary files, and installing updates you can't see yet. Everything between the breakdown and the breakthrough belongs to that invisible middle ground, the processing stage. When you're in it, nothing looks right. You can't tell what's ending or beginning because both are happening at once. It's like being in the hallway between two doors. You're in transit while the system recalibrates. When people can't see the finished version of something, they assume it's chaos. But in every kind of system, natural, digital, or emotional, temporary disorder always comes before a new balance forms. Think about how software updates work. The screen freezes, the progress bar crawls, and you start wondering if it crashed. But underneath, files are rewriting, security patches are installing, and old glitches are being erased. The system looks still because it's busy behind the surface. You wouldn't unplug your laptop just because the screen looks stuck. Yet, that's what most of us do with life. We panic during updates. We mistake silence for failure. Change operates more like water reaching a boil. The heat rises slowly. Almost nothing happens. Then suddenly movement begins. Bubbles form, energy releases, and the transformation becomes visible. That visible moment is only the result of what was quietly building beneath. Seasons follow the same pattern. Winter looks like stillness, but that's when the roots grow deeper, preparing for a new burst of life. Nothing is wasted in that pause. It's just energy rooting itself to the foundation before resurfacing. Human beings weren't built for patience. Psychologists say our ancestors survived by reacting quickly, running from danger, seizing food, finding shelter in the moment. The brain rewards immediate results because for most of history, delay meant risk. That wiring didn't vanish just because our world changed. Now, when life pauses, the same primal alarm goes off. We interpret waiting as danger, confusion as failure, and silence as loss. The delay isn't empty. It's evolution happening in real time. The discomfort you feel during uncertainty is your body asking for control in a process that doesn't require force. Transformation takes longer because it involves rewiring what happens to you and how you respond to it. That's why detachment matters. It's about letting the process finish its work. The more you push, the longer the loop runs. Resistance keeps the update spinning, trying to correct a file that hasn't stopped moving. When you release control, when you stop editing the outcome mid-update, the system stabilizes faster. Trust is the program's permission to complete the installation. You don't have to know the final version to believe it's being built correctly. Every unresolved emotion, every loose thread is already accounted for in the next iteration. The system doesn't forget to include what's important. It waits until you stop interrupting the download. There's a useful shift that happens when you start reading your emotions as system alerts. Anxiety might be the internal notification that a pattern is outdated. Frustration could be the universe's reminder that a limit has been reached. Sadness might mean something old is clearing out of your data field. These are updates requesting acceptance. The moment you stop labeling them as problems, they change function. You no longer carry them as burdens. You interpret them as signals from your deeper intelligence. If you've felt extra pressure building in your life lately, today marks the point when that process hits integration mode. All the glitches, lessons, endings, and new beginnings that have been running in the background reach a merge point. The clearing completes. The new operating system begins to install. That's why the energy may have felt inconsistent lately. Peaks of emotion, sudden fatigue, brief moments of peace in between. Those are signs the internal update is almost done. You're sinking. The more you surrender to that flow, the faster clarity arrives. Trust is the command that tells the process to finish. The system doesn't need your supervision. It needs your belief that it's working. When you release the constant checking, the progress accelerates. The irony is the moment you stop asking if you're getting closer is when you actually do. From here on, awareness becomes a tool. Every time uncertainty returns, you'll know what it really means. The next version of you is already loading. If you're hearing these words, your pattern is already updating. The shift you've been sensing is happening now. You're inside it. What looks uncertain is alignment assembling itself in real time. Every challenge, every small redirection is proof that calibration is in motion. Trust that the system is guiding you through the code it always uses, adjustment. You don't need to push, only to stay present long enough to notice what's refining. The universe corrects its aim until you're exactly where you were meant to be.